The Academy presents A History of Film.
Film owes a great deal to early photography. In 1827, Joseph Niepce took the first still photograph entitled View from the Window at Le Gras.
It was persistence of vision that would allow photography to be turned into film. Persistence of vision is a tendency of the human eye to see images for a split second after they are no longer there. The lilac chaser features a green dot moving around in a circle. In actuality, it is simply replacing other dots, but by playing it quickly, it appears that the green dot is moving. This is persistence of vision, and it would lead to the popularity of several optical toys over the next century.
Some optical toys include Joseph Plateau's phenakistoscope in 1832, William George Horner's zoetrope in 1834, and Emile Raynaud's praxinoscope in 1877. Most optical toys involved a reel of hand-drawn images that would spin in order to create the illusion that the couple dancing or the man doing cartwheels are actually moving.
It was Edward Muybridge who discovered in 1878 the key to capturing people in motion, photography. Similar to those spinning sequences of couples dancing or a man doing cartwheels, images played in quick succession gave the impression of movement, even though the subjects were in fact still.
This advancement in photography would soon lead to further ones in film. In 1888, George Eastman, the eventual founder of Kodak, created a special kind of paper that could be used to specifically develop photographs.
The same year, Thomas Edison began work on machines that would be able to record and replay moving pictures. Over the next 3 years, it would be Edison's assistant, W.K.L. Dixon, who would do the majority of the work in creating these machines, named the kinetograph and kinetoscope, which were a camera and a film viewing platform respectively. The machines were ready for patenting by 1891, and patent they did. The kinetoscope was a peep show device, meaning only one person could look through it at a time to see the show playing, but it became a very popular form of entertainment.
The kinetograph and kinetoscope did have a serious drawback, however. Besides being two fairly large and bulky machines, there was also the problem that only one person could watch them at once. The Lumiere brothers, Louis and Auguste, solved this problem in 1894 when they introduced their cinematograph. This device was not only both camera and viewing platform, it was also able to show the films to large amounts of people. Their clip Workers Leaving the Lumiere factory in Lyon wowed crowds in 1895, as would their large screening that December. This screening featured 10 Lumiere films with such riveting portrayals as The Serpentine Dance, The Strong Man, and Feeding the Baby.
As exciting as the Lumiere films were to filmgoers, something even more exciting came along in the form of Georges Méliès's 1902 film, Voyage to the Moon. This film did not aim to capture real life. Instead, it created an entirely new linear story, and even included the first special effects ever to be put into film. This was a stunning breakthrough in an industry that was only capturing images from everyday life.
Edwin Porter's The Great Train Robbery, released in 1903, featured a revolutionary panning camera used to follow action scenes. It also had some color editing, special effects, and used parallel action to demonstrate two events occurring at the same time.
D.W. Griffith saw and built upon Porter's techniques when he released Birth of a Nation in 1915. The film was innovative in countless ways. It introduced costuming for the purpose of creating historical accuracy. There was extensive use of editing within simple scenes, and it used elaborate title cards to assist with the narrative. Natural backgrounds were placed in place of studio sets, and the elaborate battle scenes required hundreds of extras. While all these innovations were recognized by critics, the film was nevertheless extremely racist and controversial in its portrayal of African Americans, most of whom were portrayed by white actors in makeup.
In response to the criticism, D.W. Griffith released another film the very next year. Titled Intolerance, this film was one of the first non-linear ones ever made. It featured 4 separate stories, each tinted a different color and each set in a different time period. This film was also innovative in its advancements in editing in order to cover great periods of time. The film industry wasn't slowed at all by World War I. Even after the war, countries whose economies had been decimated were still pouring resources into their national film industries.
Germany, for example, had suffered tremendous losses during the war and was suffering through intense poverty as a result. The government nonetheless poured some of their limited resources into the German film industry, which flourished in the years after the war, becoming known as the Golden Age of German cinema. German Expressionism, a style of filmmaking involving intentionally skewed sets and bizarre, dark storylines, was one of the predominant film styles to come out of this era, with such films as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and The Golem being produced.
Germany may have been suffering through poverty, but Russia was dealing with the aftermath of a revolution. The new government, headed by Lenin, believed cinema to be an effective medium of propaganda. One highly effective tool of these propaganda films was the montage, a sequence of shots that were typically of the same scenario from several different angles or perspectives perspectives. The montage used drastically opposing images as well as linked shots to create psychological impact. The Odessa Steppe sequence from Sergei Eisenstein's film Battleship Potemkin is typically regarded as the epitome of the montage as we know it.
Meanwhile, Paris was experimenting with film as well. It was the hub of the French avant-garde movement, which focused on innovative and experimental approaches to filmmaking. Most avant-garde films aimed to shock or confuse the audiences with obscure techniques. It's also notable this movement perceived film more as an artistic medium than one of storytelling, with famous examples including Marcel Duchamp's Cinéma Animique and Un Chien Andalou by Louis Buñuel.
Film grew as a result of contributions of inventors and filmmakers from all over the world, and it grew as diverse and multifaceted as the world itself. It is this diversity and its contributions to the Academy that we honor before our nominees this evening. Good luck to our nominees and enjoy the show.